Chosen one. Why did you wake up at 3:17 a.m. last Tuesday with your heart pounding? Why does your coffee taste like ashes this morning? Why does every laugh feel hollow, every news headline feel like a countdown, every sunset feel like goodbye? Stop. Right. There. You didn't stumble here. You were summoned. Listen, do you hear that? That low hum beneath the traffic, beneath the television chatter, beneath your own racing thoughts. That's not tinnitus. That's not anxiety. That's heaven's alarm clock vibrating through the fabric of reality itself. And beloved, it's deafening to those with ears to hear. October 14 is not another Monday. It's the final alarm before God hits reset on everything you thought you knew. I need you to understand something that's going to shake you to your core. There's a clock tower in the heavens, and it's been ticking since Genesis. But right now, this very second, the hands are trembling at 1 minute to midnight. The mechanism is groaning. The gears are screaming. And when that bell tolls on October 14, the sound will shatter every illusion you've been living under. You feel it, don't you? That weight on your chest when you wake. That's not the world pressing down, that's eternity pressing in. Heaven's trumpet isn't some distant, metaphorical whisper anymore. It's echoing through your dreams, your decisions, your desperate 2 a.m. prayers when you can't sleep, because something ancient in your DNA is screaming, "Get ready." This is a divine siren cutting through your Netflix binges and news feeds. It's piercing through your mortgage worries and medical bills. It's interrupting your normal like a fire alarm in a burning building, except the building is this current reality, and beloved, the flames are already licking at the foundation. Before we go deeper, and we must go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith right now. But listen, this isn't about fear. This is about recognition. Because the ones who hear the alarm, I mean really hear it, not just with their ears, but with that knowing place in their spirit, those are the ones who will survive the reset. Those are the ones who won't be caught sleeping when the gears finally turn. If your spirit is vibrating right now, if something inside you knows this isn't random, if you can feel the tremor of a coming spiritual earthquake type, I hear the alarm in the comments. Let heaven see you're awake. Let the angels witness that you're not just another sleeper. The question rattling through the corridors of eternity right now is simple but terrifying. Are you ready for what's coming? Why haven't your prayers been answered? Why does heaven feel like it stopped listening? Why, after all these years of faithfulness, does it seem like God hung up the phone and never called back? Listen to me, beloved. I know exactly where you are right now. You're sitting in that empty house where your spouse's chair still faces the TV, but no one's sitting there anymore. You're staring at your phone, waiting for your kids to call, but the screen stays dark. You're looking at your bank account, wondering how you'll make it through another month on that fixed income that doesn't stretch like it used to. And in those 3 a.m. moments when sleep won't come and the silence presses down like a weight on your chest, you've whispered the most dangerous prayer of all. God, did you forget about me? I'm going to tell you something right now that's going to shatter everything you thought you knew about divine silence. That quiet you've been living in, that deafening absence of heaven's voice, that wasn't abandonment, chosen one, that was preparation. You've been living in heaven's quiet room. And what happens in the quiet room isn't punishment, it's incubation. Think about it. Before Jesus broke into human history, God was silent for 400 years. 4 centuries. Prophets stopped prophesying. Heaven stopped speaking. The faithful died, believing God had turned his face away from Israel forever. But all that time, in the cosmic stillness, God was preparing the greatest rescue mission in human history. The silence wasn't God leaving, it was heaven reloading. Moses knew this silence. 40 years in the desert, tending sheep, wondering if the burning passion of his youth had died in the sand. Elijah understood it too. Sitting in that cave, depressed, suicidal, convinced he was the only one left who still believed. The prophet who had called down fire from heaven was now begging God to let him die. But it was in that cave, in that crushing silence, that God whispered, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And here's what breaks my heart about your story. You think the silence means you did something wrong. You've been replaying your life like a detective searching for the sin that made God stop talking. Was it that divorce 30 years ago? Was it that bankruptcy? Was it the way you raised your kids? Was it missing church that one Sunday? No, beloved, no. Your prayers weren't ignored. They were incubating. Like a seed buried in dark soil, looking dead, feeling forgotten, but actually preparing to burst through the ground with life you can't even imagine yet. Every tear you cried into that pillow after the funeral, God collected it. Psalm 56:8 says, He keeps them in a bottle. Every desperate prayer you whispered while staring at those medical bills, He recorded it. Every night you felt invisible, overlooked, abandoned by your own family, He saw it all. And He's been building something in the silence that your noise could never produce. You see, chosen one, there's a reason God went quiet in your life. You were too loud. Not with your voice, with your striving, your planning, your trying to fix everything yourself. You were so busy being strong that you never learned to be still. So busy being independent that you never learned to be dependent on Him. So busy surviving that you forgot how to surrender. The silence wasn't God leaving. It was God creating space for you to finally stop and listen. Because what's coming on October 14 requires a different kind of hearing. Not the hearing of your ears, but the hearing of your spirit. But here's what you need to understand right now, and I mean right now. The silence is ending. You feel it, don't you? That shift in the atmosphere, that stirring in your chest. That's not anxiety, that's not your imagination. That's the sound of heaven's quiet room door beginning to creak open. God has been silent because He's been preparing you for something your old self couldn't handle. The you who was comfortable, the you who had all the answers, the you who thought you had life figured out, that version of you wasn't ready for October 14. But this version, the one who's been refined by silence, humbled by loneliness, stripped down to raw faith. This version is dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. The enemy wanted the silence to break you. God used it to remake you. The devil wanted isolation to destroy your faith. Heaven used it to deepen your dependence. What looked like abandonment was actually appointment. I need you to do something right now. I need you to stop running from the silence and start listening to it. Because buried in that quiet, there's a whisper that's been waiting for you to be still enough to hear it. It's been saying your name. It's been calling you deeper. It's been preparing you for a moment that's only 6 days away. If you've been in a season of silence, say this with me right now. Say it out loud. I don't care who's in the room. Lord, I'm listening again. Say it like you mean it. Say it like your life depends on it. Because October 14 will only speak to those who are still enough to hear. The alarm that's about to sound isn't for the distracted, the busy, the ones still trying to fix their lives with their own hands. It's for the ones who learned in the silence that God's voice is worth waiting for. Your children may have stopped calling. Your friends may have drifted away. Your body may be breaking down. But heaven has never been more focused on you than it is right this second. The silence wasn't the end of your story, it was the pause before the most important chapter. And that chapter begins in 6 days. But here's the question that should terrify and thrill you at the same time. Now that the silence is breaking, now that God's about to speak again, are you ready to hear what He's been preparing to say? You want to know why everything feels like it's falling apart? Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your foundation. It's not falling apart. It's being torn down on purpose. Look around you, chosen one. Really look. The stock market crashes on Monday, rallies on Tuesday, then bleeds out by Friday. Your retirement account that you spent 40 years building, it's evaporating like morning mist. The dollar in your pocket buys less bread than it did last month. Economists call it inflation. But I'm telling you right now, this is not economics. This is eschatology. This is the end times clock, ticking so loud that Wall Street can hear it, but refuses to admit it. And it's not just money, is it? Turn on your television if you can stomach it. Men don't know if they're men. Women don't know if they're women. Children are being taught that truth is whatever feels good in the moment. The very foundations of identity, the bedrock of male and female, He created them from Genesis 1:27, is being jackhammered into dust. This isn't progress, beloved. This is prophecy. 2 Timothy 3:1-5 warned us with crystal clarity. In the last days, perilous times will come. Men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Read that again. Does that sound like cable news, or does that sound like scripture? The answer is yes, because your television is simply broadcasting what the Bible predicted 2,000 years ago. But here's where it cuts deeper than headlines. Here's where it gets personal. Why has your body been breaking down this past year? Why did that diagnosis come out of nowhere? Why can't you sleep through the night anymore? Why does your heart race at 3 a.m. for no medical reason? The doctors run their tests and find nothing, or they find something but their treatments don't work like they used to. Why are your relationships crumbling? That daughter who hasn't called in 6 months, that son who looks at you like you're from another planet, that spouse of 50 years who suddenly feels like a stranger across the dinner table. The church you've attended for decades that now preaches a gospel you don't even recognize. You've been calling it spiritual warfare. You've been calling it the enemy's attack. And yes, the devil is involved, but here's the truth that's going to hit you like lightning. God is shaking everything that can be shaken, so that only what cannot be shaken remains. Hebrews 12:26-7 declares it. Once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens. The words once more indicate the removing of what can be shaken, that is, created things, so that what cannot be shaken may remain. Every financial loss, every health crisis, every relationship rupture, every disappointment that's hit you in the past 3 years, it wasn't just random chaos. It was divine demolition. God has been removing everything you've built your identity on, everything you've trusted in, everything you've leaned on that isn't Him. Because what's coming after October 14 will require you to stand on nothing but the solid rock of Christ alone. The earth itself is groaning. Romans 8:22 tells us, the whole creation has been groaning, as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. You feel it, don't you? That groan. It's not just in the earthquakes that shake California or the hurricanes that hammer Florida. It's in your bones. It's in your spirit. Creation knows something's coming. The planet itself is in labor. And beloved, when labor pains start, there's only one thing that comes next: birth. Matthew 24 reads like tomorrow's headlines. Wars and rumors of wars, check. Nation rising against nation, check. Famines and earthquakes in various places, check. But Jesus said in verse 8, all these are the beginning of birth pains, not the end. The beginning. The alarm isn't coming, chosen one. The alarm has already sounded. It's been ringing in the stock market collapse. It's been wailing in the hospital rooms. It's been shrieking in the divorce courts and the funeral homes. It's been blaring in the news cycles and the weather patterns. And if you've been feeling it, if that pressure in your chest, that unease in your spirit, that sense that something massive is about to break, that's because you're hearing what the sleeping world refuses to acknowledge. Revelation 8:1 describes a moment. When he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Do you know what that silence is? It's the pause before the final trumpet. It's the held breath before the shout. It's the split second when even the angels stop singing because they know what's about to be unleashed. We are living in that silence right now. The clock of heaven is 5 seconds from zero. Not 5 years, not 5 months, 5 seconds. And October 14 is when the second hand hits midnight. These are not coincidences, beloved. These are countdowns. Every news report, every personal crisis, every global shaking is God's alarm system screaming, "Wake up, get ready, the reset is here." But here's what's going to wreck you, and I need you to sit with this. The same God who's shaking your world is also the God who's preparing you. Every loss was a lesson. Every crisis was a classroom. Every moment you thought he'd abandoned you, he was actually positioning you. Because only those who've learned to stand when everything else falls will be left standing when the reset completes. If this message feels personal, it's because it is. This isn't some distant theology or abstract prophecy. This is your life, your family, your future. And God is speaking directly to you right now through these very words. Comment, "I'm awake, Lord," if you hear his voice. You're not just typing words, you're declaring alignment before the reset. You're announcing to heaven and hell that you recognize the sound of the alarm and you refuse to hit snooze. The alarm has already sounded in heaven. The question rattling through eternity is devastating in its simplicity. Will you respond on earth? Because what comes next, what October 14 unleashes, will separate those who heard from those who ignored. And beloved, you don't want to be caught sleeping when the gears of divine destiny finally turn and the reset begins. But before we go there, before I show you exactly what this reset looks like and how to position yourself for it, you need to understand something that will change everything you thought you knew about your purpose. Chosen one, let me ask you something that's been haunting you in the quiet hours. Do you feel like you're running out of time? At 73, at 82, at 91 years old, do you lie awake at 4 a.m. wondering if you missed your moment? Do you look at younger people getting blessed, getting healed, getting breakthroughs, and whisper to yourself, "God, did you forget about me?" Here's the truth that's going to shatter every lie you've believed about your age and your destiny. You're not late. You've been right on time for heaven's clock. You see, there are two kinds of time operating simultaneously in this universe, and most people, even most Christians, never understand the difference. The Greeks gave us words for this mystery, chronos and kairos. Chronos is the time you see ticking on your kitchen wall. It's linear, it's sequential. It's the time that says you're 75 and running out of road. But kairos? Kairos is God's time. It's the appointed moment, the fullness of time. The exact second when heaven invades earth and says, "Now." Chronos asks, "How long have you been waiting?" But kairos whispers, "Are you ready for what I'm about to release?" And beloved, October 14 is a kairos moment wrapped in chronos clothing. Let me take you back to Abraham. Do you remember his story? God promised him nations would flow from his loins when he was 75 years old. 75! The world would have laughed. Sarah certainly did. But 25 years passed. 25 years of waiting, of doubt, of looking at his aging body and Sarah's barren womb. Genesis 21:5 tells us plainly, Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. 100 years old. By every human calculation, he was finished. His time had expired. The clock had run out. But God's clock? It was just striking midnight. You see, God wasn't late. God was winding time backward, recalibrating every second of Abraham's century of life to produce the exact moment when Isaac Laughter would be born. Every year of waiting wasn't wasted. It was loading the divine gun that would shoot forth nations. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Your delays were divine detours. Every closed door, every not yet, every time you thought God had moved on without you, he was actually winding the clock of your destiny backward to align eternity with your purpose. Think about Sarah. 90 years old when she conceived. Her body was decades past the biological possibility of motherhood. But Genesis 18:14 asks the question that shatters all human limitation: is anything too hard for the Lord? The Hebrew word there is pala. It means miraculous, extraordinary, beyond natural law. God doesn't just work within the limits of your biology. He rewrites the laws of nature when it's Kairos time. And then there's Anna. Oh, beloved, let me tell you about Anna the prophetess. Luke 2:36-37 says she was 84 years old, widowed after only 7 years of marriage, and she'd spent the next 77 years in the temple. 77 years of fasting, praying, waiting. Can you imagine? 77 years of showing up, of believing, of holding on to a promise she couldn't see. People probably pitied her. Poor old Anna, still hanging around the temple, still believing for something that's never going to happen. But then a young couple walked through those temple doors carrying a baby. And Anna's spiritual eyes, sharpened by 77 years of waiting, recognized what the religious scholars missed. She was looking at the Messiah. Luke 2:38 says, coming up to them at that very moment, she gave thanks to God and spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. At that very moment, not too early, not too late. At the exact Kairos moment when heaven's clock struck and Chronos bowed its knee. Anna's 84 years weren't about getting old. They were about getting ready. Here's what's wrecking me right now, chosen one. You thought the clock was against you. You thought every birthday was evidence that you were losing ground. You thought your gray hair, your slower step, your failing eyesight meant God was done with you. But God was winding the clock backward to align eternity with your destiny. Every year you survived, every heartbreak you endured, every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if anyone saw you. It was all calibrating. Heaven's timepiece to release your breakthrough at the exact moment when it would have maximum impact. You weren't being forgotten. You were being positioned. And October 14 is not just coming to you, it's coming for you. Because you, beloved, you are the timepiece heaven has been waiting on. Your heart, refined by decades of fire. Your faith, tested by years of silence. Your spirit, sharpened by seasons of wondering if God remembered your name. You are the alarm clock that's about to go off and wake up a sleeping generation. But I need you to do something right now. Don't wait until October 14. Don't wait until you feel ready. Right now, right this second, I need you to whisper these words. God, synchronize my spirit with yours. Say it again. God, synchronize my spirit with yours. This is how you prepare for the reset. This is how you align Chronos with Kairos. This is how you tell heaven, I'm not measuring my life by birthdays anymore. I'm measuring it by your appointed moments. Because the truth that's going to set you free is this. Moses was 80 when he split the Red Sea. Caleb was 85 when he said, give me this mountain. Noah was 600 when he stepped onto the ark and saved humanity. God doesn't retire his generals, he repositions them. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your qualification. Every year you've lived has been downloading wisdom into your spirit that younger people don't possess. You know how to wait. You know how to trust. You know how to believe when everything visible says, give up. That's not weakness, beloved. That's weaponry. But here's the urgency I need you to feel. October 14 is the divine alarm, and not everyone will hear it. Not everyone's spirit is synchronized with heaven's frequency. The question that will determine your destiny is this. When God's clock strikes Kairos on October 14, will your spirit be tuned to the right frequency? Beloved, let me tell you something that's going to cut straight through the noise of your life right now. October 14 isn't just another square on your kitchen calendar between Columbus Day and Halloween. It's not another Monday where you wake up, pop your pills, check your blood pressure, and shuffle through another day of doctor's appointments and reruns. October 14 is the threshold, the line in the sand. The moment when heaven stops whispering and starts thundering. You know what a threshold is, don't you? It's that space between where you are and where you're going, between the old house and the new, between sickness and healing, between death and resurrection. And right now, chosen one, you're standing on the most critical threshold in human history, the razor's edge between mercy and movement. Think about Noah. Genesis 7:16 tells us something chilling. Then the Lord shut him in. Not Noah, not his family. The Lord shut the door. There was a final moment, one last second, when that massive door to the ark was still open, when the sky was still clear, when the scoffers were still laughing, and then, click, heaven shut it, and the rain began. Can you imagine being outside that door, hearing the first drops, feeling the wind change, realizing too late that the warning wasn't a metaphor, it was a mercy you ignored? October 14 is that click. Or think about Lot in Sodom. Genesis 19:17 records the angel's desperate plea, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed." The angels were literally dragging him by the hand. His own wife couldn't resist one last look back at her comfortable life, her familiar routine, her Tuesday bridge club, and her friends who thought she was crazy for leaving. She became a pillar of salt, not because God was cruel, but because she chose nostalgia over obedience, comfort over calling, the familiar over the future. What are you looking back at, dear one? What comfortable destruction are you clinging to while heaven is shouting, "Run"? But here's where it gets personal. Here's where this hits your kitchen table, your medicine cabinet, your sleepless nights. Jesus told a parable in Matthew 25 that should terrify and awaken every one of us. 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom. All of them had lamps, all of them had been invited, all of them were expecting him. But 5 were ready, and 5 were asleep. When the cry rang out at midnight, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming." 5 had oil, 5 had preparation, 5 had been watching. The other 5, they scrambled, they panicked, they begged, "Give us some of your oil." But it was too late. Matthew 25:10 says it plainly. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. The door was shut. Listen to me carefully. Heaven's final alarm doesn't ring with sound, it rings through the soul. And some will feel it as peace, others as panic. Some will hear it as a call to rise. Others will hear it as the last chance they ignored. Which one are you? Picture this. A clock striking 12, with lightning splitting the sky. Not in some distant galaxy, but right over your neighborhood. Right over Queens, over the Bronx, over that little apartment where you've been praying and waiting and wondering if God still remembers your address. That's October 14, a spiritual earthquake splitting timelines before obedience and after obedience. You're living in the before right now. The question is, will you cross into the after? But here's what's going to explode your understanding of everything you thought you knew. The reset isn't punishment, it's restoration. God isn't ending your story. He's rebooting it to factory settings, his settings. You know what factory settings are, right? It's when your phone or computer gets so corrupted, so filled with viruses and glitches and garbage, that the only solution is to wipe it clean and start fresh. Back to the way the manufacturer designed it. Pure, uncorrupted, operating at full capacity. That's what God is doing. He's looking at this world, at your life, and he's saying, enough. Enough of the compromise. Enough of the fear. Enough of living at 30% capacity when I created you for 100%. Time to reset. This isn't about fear. This is about faith. This isn't about wrath. This is about reformation. This isn't about the end. This is about the unveiling. Do you hear what I'm saying? Every system you've trusted, the economy, the healthcare, the government, even the church structures, they're all glitching. They're all corrupted. And God is about to hit the divine reset button, not to destroy you, but to restore you to the person he created before the world told you who to be. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. Resets don't wait for permission. They happen on the manufacturer's schedule, not yours. When October 14 comes, it won't pause for your doubt. It won't delay for your unfinished business. It won't wait while you think about it. Romans 13:11 thunders across the centuries. And do this, understanding the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. Nearer now. Not someday, not eventually, now. You've been hitting snooze on heaven's alarm for how long? 5 years? 10? 50? How many times has God whispered and you said, later? How many divine appointments have you missed because you were too busy, too tired, too comfortable in your routine? October 14 is the sound of the snooze button breaking. I need you to see something. The virgins who ran out of oil, they weren't bad people. They weren't atheists or rebels. They were invited guests. They showed up. They had lamps. They just didn't have enough fuel to last through the waiting. They didn't prepare for the midnight hour. And when that cry rang out, their lamps went dark. Is your lamp flickering right now? Is your spiritual fuel running on empty while you keep telling yourself, I'll get serious about God next week, next month, next year? The bridegroom is coming at midnight, beloved. And midnight doesn't send a reminder text. If you're ready for the reset, if you're tired of surviving and ready to awaken, if something in your chest is screaming that this is your moment, type reset me, Lord, in the comments right now. Heaven sees your response. The angels are taking attendance, and your declaration matters more than you know, because what happens next will separate those who heard the alarm from those who hit snooze one last time. The question is, which side of the door will you be on when it shuts? Beloved, let me tell you what's about to happen on October 14, and I need you to listen with every fiber of your being, because what I'm about to describe isn't fantasy, it's not religious theater. It's the divine protocol that heaven has been preparing since before your first breath. God's reset doesn't look like what Hollywood taught you. There are no explosions, no apocalyptic horsemen trampling through Times Square. No, this reset is far more terrifying to the kingdom of darkness because it's surgical, it's precise, it's personal. When God hits reset, the first thing that happens is emotional healing. Think about that wound you've carried for 40 years, that betrayal from 1985 that still makes your coffee taste bitter every morning. That shame from a decision you made in your 30s that haunts you at 2 a.m. when the house is quiet and the regrets get loud. That unforgiveness toward your daughter, your son, your spouse who's been gone for a decade but somehow still has real estate in your heart. On October 14, God is performing spiritual surgery without anesthesia because you need to feel this. Malachi 4-6 promises, He will turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the hearts of the children to their parents. That's not poetry, dear one, that's prophecy. And it's about to rip through your living room like lightning through a copper wire. You're going to wake up on October 14, and that grudge you've nursed like a baby for 23 years, gone, evaporated. Not because you tried harder to forgive, but because heaven is rewiring your emotional circuitry. The peace that Philippians 4-7 talks about, the peace that surpasses all understanding, it's not coming to visit. It's coming to occupy, to colonize your anxious mind and set up permanent residence. But it doesn't stop there. Financial restoration is part of this reset, and I need you to understand something crucial. God isn't just paying your bills, He's rewriting your family's financial DNA. You know that poverty spirit that's been passed down through 3 generations like a cursed heirloom? The one that made your grandfather work himself to death for pennies, made your father believe he'd never be enough, made you accept scraps when you were born for abundance. October 14 is the eviction notice. Joel 2:25 declares, I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten. Do you understand what that means? Every social security check that barely covers your medication reset. Every time you've had to choose between groceries and grandchildren's birthday gifts reset. Every middle of the night panic about outliving your savings reset. The reset doesn't just give you money, it gives you the authority to steward resources you were always meant to carry. Because you're not just a senior citizen on a fixed income. You are the reboot button on God's keyboard of creation. Let that sink in for a moment. While the world sees wrinkles and dismisses you as obsolete, heaven sees operating systems that have been debugging for 70, 80, 90 years. You've survived crashes that would have destroyed machines half your age. And now God is saying, I need your processing power for what's coming next. Family reconciliation is the third wave of the reset. How many of you have children who don't call, grandchildren you only see on Facebook, a sibling you haven't spoken to since the funeral in 2003? The reset is going to hit your family tree like a divine earthquake, shaking loose every broken branch and grafting them back together with supernatural sap. But here's what's going to shock you. You might receive the phone call before October 14. You might get the text message, the unexpected visit, because the reset doesn't wait for permission, it creates momentum. And right now, the spiritual atmosphere around your bloodline is already shifting, already pressurizing, already preparing for the reconciliation bomb that's about to detonate. Luke 1:17 says he will turn the hearts of the parents to their children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous. That estranged son who broke your heart, that daughter who chose a path you couldn't understand. The reset is targeting them right now. Angels are positioning, circumstances are arranging, divine appointments are being scheduled. And here's the part that's going to make you weep. Revival in the aging generation. The church has been worshipping youth for so long they forgot that the Holy Spirit prefers aged wine. Acts 2:17 says, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. Notice the order. The elders dream first, because dreams require wisdom. Dreams require the kind of spiritual depth you only get from walking with God through decades of deserts and deliverances. On October 14, prophetic visions are returning to the elders. That gift you had when you were 30, the one where you could sense things before they happened, where you knew who was calling before the phone rang, where you could feel the spiritual temperature of a room the moment you walked in. It's coming back. But it's not coming back the same. It's coming back amplified, refined, weaponized, because God needs seers who have seen enough of life to handle what they're about to see in the Spirit. He needs intercessors whose prayers carry the weight of lived experience, whose words have been forged in furnaces of real suffering and real victory. The light you thought had dimmed is about to blind the darkness. You thought your best spiritual years were behind you. You thought God was done using you because you need reading glasses to see your Bible and a hearing aid to catch the sermon. Listen to me carefully. Your slowness is not weakness, it's deliberateness. Your need for rest is not retirement, it's strategic positioning. Your quiet life is not irrelevance, it's camouflage. And on October 14, the camouflage comes off. Here's the truth that's going to wreck you in the most beautiful way. The reason you're still breathing is because you're part of heaven's restart team. You're not lingering on earth because modern medicine is good. You're here because heaven has a deployment date, and that date is October 14. This isn't the end, beloved. This is your deployment. Every prayer you've whispered in the dark, every tear you've cried when no one was watching, every moment you chose faith over fear, even when fear made more sense, all of it was training. Basic training, boot camp, preparation for this moment when God says, now I need you on the front lines. Right now, don't wait, don't think, just do it. Lay your hand on your heart and whisper, God, don't let me sleep through the reset. Say it again, mean it this time, because October 14 is coming whether you're ready or not. The alarm is sounding whether you acknowledge it or not. The reset is happening whether you participate or not. But here's the question that's going to haunt you if you don't answer it right now. When heaven's restart team assembles, when the divine deployment begins, When God looks for the ones who stayed awake through the final alarm, will you be standing or will you be sleeping? You heard it. The alarm rang. October 14 blazed across your spirit like lightning splitting a midnight sky. But now there's something even more unsettling than the warning itself. The silence. Have you noticed it? That eerie quiet that's fallen over everything since the alarm first sounded in your soul. It's like the whole universe just inhaled and forgot to exhale. The birds outside your window seem to pause mid-song. The traffic hum feels distant, muted. Even your own thoughts echo differently, as if the room between heaven and earth has suddenly expanded into a cathedral of holy waiting. This isn't emptiness, beloved. This is expectancy. After every trumpet blast in Scripture, there's always a pause. Always a moment when heaven stops speaking and starts watching. Revelation 8:1 tells us something chilling. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Silence in heaven, the place of eternal worship, the throne room of unceasing praise, went completely still. Why? Because God had spoken his final word. Now he was waiting to see what would happen next. That's where you are right now, chosen one, standing in the half hour of cosmic silence. And let me tell you something that's going to shake you. This silence is more dangerous than the alarm ever was. See, the alarm woke you up. But the silence? The silence reveals what you're really made of. Think about it. How many people heard the alarm and panicked for 3 days, then went right back to scrolling, spending, living like nothing divine just interrupted their regularly scheduled program? How many felt the tremor and decided it was just stress, just age, just their imagination? The alarm was loud, yes. But the silence afterward is the real test, because this is when most people fall back asleep. Noah knew this silence. Genesis 6:13-1-4 records the moment God told him, "I am going to destroy the earth. Build an ark." Then what? Silence. 120 years of silence while Noah hammered and sawed and endured the mockery of every neighbor who thought he'd lost his mind. The alarm had sounded, destruction is coming. But in the silence that followed, only one family stayed awake. Only one family kept building. You're in your building season right now, and the silence is trying to convince you to put down the hammer. I need you to understand what's really happening in this holy quiet. God isn't done speaking, he's done explaining. There's a massive difference. When a father tells his child, "Don't touch the stove, it's hot," he's explaining. But when that same father sees the child reaching for the burner and simply says, "Stop," that's his final word. No more explanation, no more persuasion, just a command and a pause to see if the child trusts him. October 14 was God's stop. Now he's watching your hand to see if it keeps reaching or if it pulls back. But here's what's cutting me to the bone right now, and I need you to feel this with me. In this silence, in this supernatural stillness, most people aren't listening for God anymore. They're listening for permission to go back to normal. They're listening for some voice, any voice, to tell them it was all just religious hysteria, that they can return to their comfortable numbness. That's the voice of the enemy in the silence. And beloved, he sounds exactly like your own rational mind. "You're overreacting," he whispers. "Nothing's really changed. Life goes on. Bills still need paying." October 14 came and went, and look, the sun still rises. You're fine. Go back to sleep. But Amos 3-7 demolishes that lie. Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. God doesn't send alarms as pranks. He doesn't shake you awake just to watch you roll over. When heaven sounds the trumpet, it's because the cavalry is already mounting their horses. The alarm isn't a maybe. It's a certainty wrapped in mercy, giving you time to respond. And that response happens in the silence. Moses stood in this exact silence at the Red Sea. Exodus 14 shows us the scene. Egypt's army thundering behind them, the sea stretching impossible before them, and the people screaming, "Why did you bring us out here to die?" The alarm had been the plagues, the Passover, the midnight escape. But now, trapped between water and swords, there was just silence. What was Moses supposed to do? Verse 13. Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. Stand firm, in the silence. While everything looks impossible, while your logic screams that you're finished, stand firm and watch what God does when you don't run back to Egypt. That's your Red Sea moment right now. The silence is your shoreline, and every fiber of your being wants to run backward to what was familiar, even if what was familiar was slavery. But the chosen ones, the real ones, they plant their feet in the sand and wait for the waters to split. Here's the question that's going to haunt you if you don't answer it right now. What are you doing in the silence? Are you fortifying your spirit or distracting it? Are you pressing into prayer or pressing play on another meaningless show? Are you seeking God's face or seeking comfort in the very things He's about to reset? Because I'm telling you, beloved, with everything in me, the silence isn't passive. The silence is active preparation. Job sat in silence for 7 days after losing everything. His friends came, saw his devastation, and just sat with him in wordless grief. Job 2:13. No one said a word to him, because they saw how great his suffering was. 7 days of silence before anyone spoke. But that silence wasn't emptiness. That silence was the pressure chamber where Job's faith was being compressed into diamond. And when he finally opened his mouth in chapter 3, what emerged was the rawest, most honest cry to God in all of Scripture. Your silence is doing the same thing. It's compressing your faith. It's burning off the religious performance and the Sunday morning fakery. It's crushing you down to your core so that when you finally speak again, when you finally move again, it won't be you anymore, it will be God through you. If you can feel that eerie peace, that supernatural stillness wrapping around your life like a weighted blanket type, I'm still listening right now, because it means heaven's silence hasn't scared you. It's sanctified you. It's set you apart. It's marked you as someone who doesn't need constant noise to know God is moving. The world is holding its breath, chosen one. The question is, are you holding yours in fear or in faith? Because what comes after this silence is going to require every ounce of faith you've built in the quiet. You know what nobody tells you about earthquakes? The ground doesn't just shake once and settle. There's the main quake, yes, but then come the aftershocks. And sometimes, beloved, sometimes those aftershocks reveal what the first tremor only loosened. October 14 isn't just a reset. It's heaven's aftershock rippling through every foundation you've built your life upon. And here's what's going to devastate you. The things shaking aren't your enemies. They're the lies you called security. Look around your life right now. That friendship that suddenly feels hollow. That church that used to feed you, but now leaves you starving. That marriage where you're sleeping next to a stranger. That job that pays your bills but murders your soul every Monday morning. They're all trembling. Can you feel it? This isn't coincidence. This is divine demolition. God is reaching into your carefully constructed reality, and He's shaking it like a snow globe, watching to see what's real and what's just glitter that was pretty for a season. And beloved, I need you to brace yourself, because when heaven resets, counterfeit peace collapses first. You've been feeling it for months now, haven't you? That creeping sense that something's off, that the smile you wear to family dinner doesn't fit your face anymore, that the prayers you've prayed for 40 years suddenly sound like someone else's words in your mouth, that the version of God you were taught about in Sunday school doesn't match the God who's been showing up in your 3 a.m. wrestling matches. If it's shaking, it's shifting. If it's shifting, it's sacred. Let me take you to Matthew 7:24-7. Jesus tells the story of 2 builders. One builds his house on rock, the other builds on sand. When the storm comes, and beloved, the storm always comes, the house on sand doesn't just get damaged, it falls, complete collapse, total devastation. But here's what preachers don't tell you about that parable. Both houses looked identical until the rain started falling. Both had the same windows, the same doors, the same paint job. The sand house builders probably got building permits, probably had inspections, probably threw housewarming parties where everyone said, "What a beautiful home." But when the aftershock hit, the foundation told the truth. Your life is being inspected right now. Not by the IRS, not by your doctor, not by your disappointed children, by heaven itself. And everything built on approval, addiction, religious performance, silent suffering, fake forgiveness, and inherited faith instead of intimate faith, it's all coming down. Do you know why that relationship suddenly exploded last month? Why that business partner's true colors finally showed? Why that church leader you admired got exposed? God is tearing down the scaffolding of false comfort. Think about it like this. You're in a building during an earthquake. The walls start cracking, the ceiling starts groaning, and your first instinct is to panic, to think everything's falling apart. But what if, stay with me, what if those walls were always cracked? What if that ceiling was always weak? What if the earthquake didn't create the damage? It just revealed what was hidden. The reset isn't breaking things that were whole. It's exposing things that were already broken. That friend who abandoned you when you got sick. The earthquake didn't create their selfishness. It revealed it. That spouse who only loved you when you were useful. The shaking didn't invent their conditional love. It uncovered it. That ministry that only valued your money. The aftershock didn't cause their greed. It exposed it. If it's shaking, it's shifting. If it's shifting, it's sacred. Psalm 11:3 asks the question that's probably screaming in your mind right now. When the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? What can you do when everything you trusted is trembling? When the ground beneath your certainties turns to quicksand? When the people you thought were your forever turn out to be your for now? Here's the answer that's going to wreck you and remake you at the same time. You stand on the only foundation that cannot be shaken. Hebrews 12:27 says, "The words once more indicate the removing of what can be shaken, that is, created things, so that what cannot be shaken may remain." Read that again. Let it sink into your bones. God is deliberately removing everything shakeable so that only the unshakable remains. He's not being cruel. He's being kind. He's not punishing you. He's purifying you. Every false foundation crumbling beneath your feet is making room for solid ground. Every counterfeit relationship dissolving is clearing space for covenant connections. Every religious structure collapsing is preparing you for genuine encounter. Don't mistake divine demolition for chaos. God's breaking what has been breaking you. That anxiety that's been eating you alive, it's built on the foundation of trying to control outcomes you were never meant to carry. That depression that visits you every Sunday night, it's built on the foundation of living someone else's version of your life. That exhaustion that makes you want to sleep for 1,000 years, it's built on the foundation of performing for love instead of receiving it. And God, in His infinite mercy, is shaking all of it loose. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Here's where the aftershock hits closest to home. Sometimes the thing that needs to fall isn't out there. It's in here, in your heart, in your theology, in your understanding of who God is and what He wants from you. Maybe the version of God you've been serving is the one that needs to collapse. Maybe the God who's always angry, always disappointed, always keeping score, maybe that's the false foundation. Maybe the God who only blesses you when you're good enough, pray enough, give enough, maybe that's the sandcastle deity that the real God is washing away. If it's shaking, it's shifting. If it's shifting, it's sacred. I'm talking to the grandmother who's been holding a family together with duct tape and denial. The grandfather who's been pretending everything's fine while dying inside. The widow who's been smiling through grief because that's what strong Christians do. The retiree who's been volunteering at church to feel valuable because somewhere along the way you forgot you were already precious. Your false foundations are falling, and it's terrifying, and it's beautiful, and it's both at the same time. because what's rising from the rubble is the real you, the you that God sees, the you that's been buried under expectations and obligations and other people's definitions of what your life should look like. The aftershock is violent, but it's not final. It's the breaking that comes before the building. It's the tearing down that precedes the raising up. It's the death that guarantees resurrection. If your life feels like it's falling apart right now, if your marriage is shaking, if your faith is trembling, if your future is uncertain, I need you to say this out loud. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it becomes your new foundation. Heaven's not breaking me, it's breaking me open. Say it again, louder this time. Let your walls hear it. Let your fear hear it. Let hell itself hear it. Because what's being exposed in you isn't your weakness, it's your readiness. You're not falling apart, you're falling into place. The pieces that no longer fit aren't rejecting you, you're outgrowing them. But here's the question that will determine whether you survive this aftershock or get buried by it. Will you cling to what's crumbling, or will you reach for what's unshakable? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. Right now, at this very moment, there's something happening in the courts of heaven that's going to wreck everything you thought you knew about your story. You've been walking around carrying a book, your book, the story of your life. And you've read it so many times that you've memorized every tragic chapter. Chapter 3, the divorce. Chapter 7, the diagnosis. Chapter 12, the bankruptcy. Chapter 15, burying your beloved. You know these pages by heart, don't you? You've run your fingers over the ink until the words are smudged with tears and regret. But what if I told you that right now, this very second, the divine author has pulled out his pen? Psalm 139:16 declares something that will shatter your understanding. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Your days were written, past tense, completed, done. But here's the revelation that's about to change everything. The God who wrote it is now rewriting it. You thought the pen was dry. You thought the story was finished. You thought the final chapter had been written when they lowered that casket into the ground, when the judge signed those papers, when the doctor said those words you'll never forget. You thought God had closed the book and shelved it in the library of forgotten lives. You were wrong. There's a courtroom in heaven that most believers never hear about. It's not the judgment seat you're afraid of. It's the chamber of divine revision. And right now, the scribe of eternity is standing before an ancient desk, your book spread open before him, and he's crossing things out. He's taking that blood-red pen, the one dipped in the wounds of Calvary, and he's striking through every label hell ever branded on your identity. Can you see it? Watch closely. There goes failure, crossed out, a thick, bold line through it. There goes forgotten, obliterated, erased, widow, orphan, bankrupt, broken, too old, too late, unworthy, damaged goods. Every single one. Deleted. And in handwriting that shakes the foundations of heaven itself, he's writing new words, new names, new identities. Healed, chosen, vessel, warrior, overcomer. Beloved, do you understand what's happening? Heaven's ink isn't made of ordinary substance. It's made of mercy. Every drop is liquid grace. And here's what's going to break you. Every tear you've cried into your pillow at 3 a.m. has been collected in bottles and used as ink in God's pen. 2 Corinthians 5:17 suddenly explodes with new meaning. If anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. The old has gone, not hidden, not covered up, gone. But why now? Why October 14? Why this urgent rewriting? Because, beloved, there's a closing window. There's a moment when the ink dries permanently. There's a point when the book is bound and sealed. And God, in His infinite mercy, is giving you one final warning. The reset is coming, and you need to be rewritten before the old reality locks you into a story you were never meant to finish. You've been living in the rough draft, the crossed-out version, the version where the enemy's pen scribbled lies in the margins of your destiny. You'll die alone. Your children will never return. You'll never recover financially. It's too late for miracles. But the divine editor is declaring, "Not in my final draft." Think about this. When was the last time you introduced yourself by your true identity? When was the last time you said, "I am chosen," instead of "I'm just getting by"? When did you last declare, "I am healed," instead of rehearsing your symptoms? When did you stand in front of that mirror and say, "I am a vessel of glory," instead of "I'm a burden to my family"? The rewriting has already begun in the heavenlies. The question is, are you ready to receive the edited version of your life? Here's what's going to happen after October 14. You're going to wake up one morning and suddenly realize that the story you've been telling yourself for 40 years doesn't fit anymore. The labels won't stick. The old narratives will sound foreign when you try to speak them. You'll open your mouth to say, "I'm too old," and instead hear yourself declare, "My latter days will be greater than my former days." That's not positive thinking. That's divine rewriting taking effect in your physical reality. The courtroom is in session right now. The scribe is working, the pen is moving, and every word he crosses out is a demon losing legal ground in your life. Every new word he writes is an angel receiving orders to manifest in your tomorrow. You thought the story ended with loss. You thought the final page was that hospital room, that divorce court, that bankruptcy filing, that graveside. But heaven just reopened the chapter. Not to revise the pain, no, the pain was real, but to reveal what was growing in the dark soil of your suffering. Job 42:12 testifies, "The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part." Job's story didn't end in the ashes. That was just the middle. The rewrite came, and when it did, everything he lost was restored, double. Your rewrite is here, but you have to participate. You have to pick up the pen on your end. You have to stop speaking the old script. You have to stop introducing yourself by your wounds and start declaring your new identity. Right now, I need you to do something radical. In the comments below, I want you to write your new title. Not your name, your identity. Not what you were, what you are. Right healed, right redeemed, right restored, right chosen, right victorious. Let heaven see your declaration. Let the angels witness that you're accepting the rewrite. Because, beloved, when you agree with what God is writing about you, the words become flesh, they become manifest, they become your lived reality. The divine editor is waiting. The pen is poised. The old story is being crossed out as we speak. The only question left is this: will you dare to believe that your story isn't over, but just now being written correctly for the first time? Chosen one, I need you to stop running for just one moment. Stop pretending. Stop smiling through the pain. Because on October 14, God is going to hold up a mirror, and beloved, it's not made of glass, it's made of fire. And that fire doesn't show you what you look like. It shows you what you've become. Listen to me carefully. There's a reason you can't look yourself in the eye anymore. There's a reason you avoid mirrors, avoid photographs, avoid anything that forces you to confront the person staring back at you. It's not vanity. It's not age. It's something far deeper, far more terrifying. You've been carrying a version of yourself that God never authorized. A wounded self, a compromised self, a self built from survival instead of surrender. And the reset is God saying, enough. I'm showing you the truth now, whether you're ready or not. You see, the prophet Malachi knew this moment was coming. Malachi 3:2-3 asks the question that should shake you to your bones. But who can endure the day of his coming? Who can stand when he appears? For he will be like a refiner's fire. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. Did you catch that? God doesn't just glance at you. He sits, he watches, he waits while the fire does its work. And beloved, if you're feeling that heat right now, if your past is suddenly flooding back, if old wounds are reopening, if shame you thought you'd buried is clawing its way to the surface, that's not the enemy attacking you. That's God purifying you. The mirror of fire has 3 stages, and you need to understand each one because October 14 is when all 3 collide at once. Stage 1, the surfacing. Right now, before the reset even fully hits, you're already feeling it, aren't you? Memories you haven't thought about in decades are suddenly playing on repeat in your mind. That thing your father said to you when you were 12. That moment your spouse looked at you with contempt instead of love. That choice you made in 1987 that you swore you'd never think about again. It's all coming up. Not to destroy you, to expose you. Because here's what most people don't understand about divine fire. It doesn't create the impurities. It reveals them. All that pain, all that bitterness, all that unforgiveness you've been plastering over with church attendance and positive thinking, it's been there the whole time, festering in the dark. And God is dragging it into the light. Why? Because He loves you too much to let you carry it into the next season. Because what's coming after October 14 requires a clean vessel, not a decorated one, not a religious one, a clean one. 2 Corinthians 7:1 doesn't sugarcoat it. Let us purify ourselves from everything that contaminates body and spirit, perfecting holiness out of reverence for God. Everything. Not just the big sins, everything. The subtle resentments, the quiet pride, the secret shame, the hidden unforgiveness, all of it is contamination. And beloved, contaminated vessels can't carry glory. Stage 2. The shattering. Now here's where it gets painful. Here's where most people run. Because once the fire reveals what's really inside you, once you see your true reflection, not the one you've been showing the world, but the one God sees, something has to break. And that something is you, not the real you, not the you that God created, but the false you, the survival you, the wounded you, the you that's been running on trauma for so long, you forgot what peace feels like. David understood this breaking. Psalm 51:17 records his desperate prayer. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. Look at that word. Broken, not inspired, not motivated, not empowered. Broken, because some things in you are so calcified, so hardened by years of pain and self-protection that they can't be gently reformed. They have to be shattered, and the only thing strong enough to shatter stone is fire. This is the moment right before October 14, when you'll feel like you're falling apart. When the foundations you've built your identity on start crumbling. When the person you thought you were dissolves in the flames. And in that moment, you'll have a choice. You can run from the fire and stay broken in the dark, or you can stay in it and let God remake you. Stage 3. The refinement. Here's the miracle that most people never get to see because they ran too soon. Here's the breakthrough that's waiting on the other side of the breaking. The same fire that exposed you, the same flames that shattered you, they don't leave you in pieces, they refine you. You know what refinement means? It means the fire burns away everything that isn't gold. It means what felt like destruction was actually extraction. God wasn't trying to destroy you. He was trying to reveal the precious metal that's been buried under layers of trauma, fear, and false identity your entire life. Zechariah 13:9 prophesies this exact moment. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. Listen to that promise. After the refining, after the testing, after the fire you will call, and God will answer. Not because you earned it, because you endured it. Your scars, they're not marks of shame anymore. They're seals of authority. Every wound you've carried, every betrayal that cut you, every loss that nearly killed you, it was all heaven's training ground. God was teaching you warfare through your pain. He was building spiritual muscle while you thought you were just surviving. And now, on the other side of October 14, when that fire has done its full work, you won't just be healed. You'll be dangerous, dangerous to hell. dangerous to every demonic assignment that's been stalking your bloodline, dangerous to the spirit of defeat that's been whispering lies to this generation. Because, beloved, the same fire that once burned you will now illuminate you. You will walk into rooms and darkness will flee. You will speak and captives will be set free. You will pray and heaven will move, not because you're perfect, but because you've been purified. The altar of surrender. So here's what I need you to do, right now. Not tomorrow, not after you think about it. Right now, if you feel that fire tonight, if you can sense God holding up that mirror, if your past is surfacing, if your false self is shattering, don't run. Lift your hand, wherever you are, living room, bedroom, car, doesn't matter. Lift your hand and say these words out loud. Lord, burn away what no longer looks like you. Say it again. Let those words crack something open in your spirit. Let the fire do its work, because October 14 is the final alarm, and what comes after requires a version of you that only fire can create. But here's the question that will determine your destiny. Will you run from the mirror, or will you let it show you the truth? Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred moment together, I need you to hold 3 eternal truths close to your heart. First, October 14 is not a date to fear, it's a divine appointment with your destiny. The alarm isn't meant to terrify you, it's meant to awaken you. Second, the fire you're feeling right now isn't punishment, it's purification. God is burning away everything that doesn't belong so the real you can finally emerge. And third, the mirror isn't showing you failure, it's revealing your readiness. You've been prepared for this moment through every trial, every tear, every season of silence. But here's what I need you to understand with every fiber of your being. You are not walking this path alone. Even now, as these words settle into your spirit, the God who knows your name is orchestrating breakthrough behind the scenes you cannot see. He's moving mountains you haven't even prayed about yet. He's opening doors you don't know exist. He hasn't brought you this far to abandon you now. Romans 8:31 settles it forever. If God is for us, who can be against us? And beyond God's faithfulness, you have something equally powerful, this community. Right here, right now, thousands of chosen ones just like you are, feeling the same fire, hearing the same alarm, standing at the same threshold. You're not isolated in your struggle. You're part of a remnant that refuses to sleep through the reset. We are here. We see you. We stand with you. So let me ask you this final question, and let it echo in the chambers of your heart tonight. Now that you've heard the alarm, now that you've seen yourself in the mirror of fire, now that you know what October 14 holds, what will you do with this awakening? Before I release you, join me in this prayer. And I don't care where you are, your living room, your car, lying in bed at 2 a.m., place your hand on your heart right now. Feel that beating. That's proof you're still here for a reason. Let me speak over your life. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, the one who sees every hidden tear and hears every midnight prayer, I come before you now carrying the weight of every soul who has stayed with us through this message. Lord, they are tired, their bodies ache with the years, their hearts carry wounds that won't seem to heal. But God, you see them, you know them, you love them. Tonight, I pray for supernatural strength to flood their weary bones. Where there is fear, replace it with faith. Where there is confusion, bring divine clarity. Where there is financial pressure, release provision. Where there is sickness, speak healing. Where there is loneliness, send divine connections. Father, as October 14 approaches, I pray you would prepare them for everything you have planned. Give them dreams and visions that confirm their calling. Send them signs that remind them they're on the right path. Surround them with people who recognize the anointing on their lives and protect them from every voice of doubt and discouragement. Bless their children and their children's children. Let the breakthrough they're about to experience become generational blessing. Open doors no man can shut. Close doors that lead to destruction. Give them wisdom for every decision, courage for every challenge, and peace that surpasses all understanding. And Lord, right now, in this very moment, let them feel your presence like a warm embrace. Let them truly know that they are loved, they are chosen, they are never alone. In the mighty name of Jesus, who conquered death so they could walk in life, I seal this prayer. Amen. Now, beloved, I want to hear from you. Don't just watch and disappear. Comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart today. What shifted in your spirit? What are you believing for as October 14 approaches? Ask us to pray for specific areas of your life. This community will surround you with intercession. And please, if this message stirred something deep within you, share it. There's someone in your life right now, a friend, a family member, someone scrolling through their phone at 3 a.m. feeling hopeless, and they need to hear this. They need to know they're not alone. They need to understand that the alarm is ringing for them too. Be the vessel that carries this light to them. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. This isn't just content, this is a movement of awakening. Every week, we're going deeper into the mysteries of your calling, unpacking the prophetic moments ahead, and building a community of the chosen who refuse to sleep through their destiny. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for letting these words penetrate the sacred places of your soul. Thank you for being brave enough to face the mirror, to hear the alarm, to believe that God still has plans for you. The reset is coming, but you, chosen one, are ready. Walk in peace, walk in power, walk in the unshakable certainty that October 14 isn't your ending, it's your beginning. God bless you. The alarm is ringing, and you are finally, beautifully, powerfully awake.